So Donald Trump has his last video out. This is a commercial to try to get people on his side. It has two ways. There's two ways you can look at it. Okay, it has a very clear downside, and number two, unfortunately, I think it might be somewhat effective. Now, I want you to try to notice the people that he's showing when he's talking about the global special interest and the people out there to screw you. It's, in this case, Trump is usually not very subtle, but this is done by professionals that are on his side, so they know how to be more subtle. So let's take a look and see if you can pick up who they have on screen when they talk about the nefarious people wielding global power.
The establishment has trillions of dollars at stake in this election. For those who control the levers of power in Washington and for the global special interest, they partner with these people that don't have your good in mind. The political establishment that is trying to stop us is the same group responsible for our disastrous trade deals, massive illegal immigration, and economic and foreign policies that have bled our country dry. It's a global power structure that is responsible for the economic decisions that have robbed our working class, stripped our country of its wealth, and put that money into the pockets of a handful of large corporations and political entities.
Okay, so sure, you see a bunch of Asian folks there, you see Latinos, and he's talked about how China's taking our jobs, Mexico's taking our jobs, but that wasn't really what they were going for. When he talked about global special interests, there were two recognizable faces that he put in there, other than, of course, the Democrats like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. Right at that time, he put in Janet Yellen, who's the head of the Federal Reserve, and George Soros. Now I get it, they're boogeymen of the Soros, boogeyman of the left, which is ridiculous because he's a giant capitalist. But oh yeah, he funds everything on the left. He funded people who were fighting communism, but they never talk about that. Anyway, and Janet Yellen, I get it. A lot of people are upset about the Federal Reserve. I don't like the way that it's run. But okay, that's 2 out of 2 of recognizable faces that happen to be Jewish Americans. Okay. Then the third person that you could recognize outside of the Democrats was when he was talking about the giant corporations that rule us all. And the video even got darker there, got gloomier right before the ending. And it was Lloyd Blankfein, the head of Goldman Sachs, who's also Jewish. Okay, if it's a mistake, it's a bad mistake. Don't go 3 for 3. So, look, you've got Trump supporters now talking about the former head of the Federal Reserve as Ben Shalom Bernanke, the way they used to call Barack Hussein Obama, right? So now it looks like they've got somebody else in their crosshairs too. And don't get me wrong, perfectly legitimate to criticize the Federal Reserve and the very curious way that it works, and quantitative easing is, I think, deeply problematic and bizarre. Goldman Sachs has done 1,000 things wrong, but they also did 1,000 things wrong when Hank Paulson was running it, and he's not Jewish. But whenever they want to pick people as the global special interests that are the enemy, they cherry pick. I know David Duke was on our program and he did it. He would only mention Jewish bankers, and I would list a whole series of non-Jewish bankers at the same exact time. Guys like Moynihan, Vikram Pandit, Irish Americans, Indian Americans, etc. No, always Blankfein and always Soros and Yellen and Bernanke, etc. So it's a dark path. Look, if you look at it and you think, it's no big deal, I don't care, they probably didn't mean it. I understand, because that one was subtle. But if you look at it and go, I'm a little concerned about exactly who they picked. Well, I share your concern. I remember when Glenn Beck, who now opposes Donald Trump, but he made a list of the global special interests on his famous whiteboard back in the day on Fox News Channel, and everyone on the list was Jewish. They don't have to be. Like I said, there's plenty of non-Jewish bankers. There's plenty of non-Jewish people in the media. I mean, you go back and watch my debate with David Duke on this, right? But they never talk about those guys. So it's deeply, deeply frustrating and concerning. Now, the second part, though, is also relevant. I think this kind of anti-establishment message does work. And that's why I get so frustrated with the Democrats, because the American people are very receptive to this. It's a powerful ad. I think it's actually maybe one of the better ads they've done, divorced from the horrible anti-Semitism in there, in my opinion. And this kind of populist message is going to work. It's either going to work from the left, where we actually head in the right direction, or it's going to work as in get people to vote for it on the right, and it's going to lead us in a dark, dark path. But what's not going to work going forward, it might work tomorrow on election day by the skin of their teeth. But if they think that the establishment is going to win another election, oh, we've got the American people fooled. No, don't worry about it. Keep giving the banks, money at almost 0% interest rate. Meanwhile, the rest of us have to pay a lot more. Students have to pay a lot more. You can't afford anything anymore. But there's people who have the rules set on their side. That part is true. It just doesn't have anything to do with a religion. It has to do with campaign donations and the way that the system is structured. If you don't have an intelligent response from the left on how to fix that system, there's going to be a very unintelligent response from the right that is going to resonate. So if the Democratic Party thinks it's a winning strategy to be the party of the establishment, they are sorely mistaken. Let's hope they survive this election, because I don't want to go populist right, because that is a bad path to be on. But if they survive this election, they better get their head out of the sand, because they won't survive another populist attack. And so that populist attack should come from the left and should be filled with logic and reason and productive changes to the system, rather than the ridiculous and bigoted populism of the right that you see in full display here. We need independent media to make sure that we hold corporate media accountable. The people that can make that happen is you. You make the Young Turks possible. tytnetwork.com/join. Join us. Be the revolution.